Hello people, I am back and we are doing metrics for about the 5th time tonight, and I'm hoping this video will make it. Alright, so chapter 3 and chapter 4 is what we're looking at. Chapter 3 is on metrics and chapter 4 is on household conversions. One thing I want to say now, and I'll probably remind you of this a dozen times, probably write it on some homework papers. Do not Google the conversions. Can't write and talk at the same time sometimes. They are not the same on Google as what you use in the healthcare field. Okay? Let's talk about this first. Let's talk about our base units. We have liters, grams, and meters. Liters and milliliters. Now, milli is a prefix, and liter is our base. But they're units of measure units that measure volume. And most of the time, volume is a liquid. Okay. Grams and milligrams. Now, again, milli is our prefix, gram is our base, but they measure weight. And it can be either your weight, person's weight, your patient's weight, dog's weight, cat's weight, guinea pig's weight. It can be your weight, or it can be the weight of the medication, which would be the concentration of the medication. It's how much medication that's in the vial or in the pill, in the powder, but how much of medication is in whatever that you're using, whatever that you're giving. Then we have meter and millimeter. Meter measures distance or length. It can be the distance of how far you walk. It can be the distance from home to the hospital, home to school. It doesn't matter. It's just the distance. Length would be like the length of an incision, the length of a scar, the length of a cyst. Sometimes they do the width and the height of a cyst on an ultrasound. If you've got a lesion or a tumor, they'll do the same thing. When I broke my ankle, they measured the plate they had to put in my ankle and the screws, and they measured the length in centimeters, the length of the plate, the width of the plate. It was all done in centimeters. The number of screws, the length of the screw was measured in centimeters. So this is the 3 types of bases we have. Liters measure volume, grams measure weight, meters measure distance. They also measure your height, which is a distance or a length, but they measure your height in centimeters. In household, or in what we measure our height in feet and inches. But in the medical field, they'll measure your height in centimeters. Now, metrics is a universal measurement. I think we're the only country that doesn't use metrics in everything, that hasn't completely converted to metrics. But metrics is a universal measurement. All healthcare providers, all hospitals around the world use metrics. Of course, most countries around the world are in metrics. Okay, let's talk about our metric chart. That'll give you our metric table. That'll give you some idea of, I'm saying it all wrong because I'm talking and drawing and writing all at the same time. It's a metric line. In the middle of your metric line is your base. And to the left, to the right, we have our small numbers. We have our deci, our centi, our milli, and then we have two units that we don't use in healthcare, but we use them in math, we use them in sciences, but not in healthcare, so we just kind of skip them, but we know they're there. And then we use our micro. And then to the left, our units get larger. So we have the deca, the hecto, and the kilo. So if our base is considered 1, deca is going to be 1/10 of the base. Centi is 1/100th of the base. Milli is 1/1000th of the base. And micro is 1/1,000,000th of the base. Now deca is 10. It's 10 bases. Hecto is 100 of the bases. And kilo is 1,000 of the bases. So that gives you an idea when we're talking about a microgram. It's 1/1,000,000th of a gram. That means that it takes 1,000,000 micrograms to make a gram. So let's go from looking at the metric line to looking at the metric chart. Okay, and this is what you can use the line to do your conversions, but I'm a firm believer that you need to learn the metric chart. And I've got one poster, I'll get one posted in Canvas that works really well. But for right now, let's just kind of do one that it's got all the units that we use on a regular basis, that you will see all the time. So, and if I start with liters, start with our volume, 1 liter equals 1,000 milliliters, or I can say 1,000 milliliters equals 1 liter. And that's about the only one we use with liters. Okay, we can use the others, but most of the time our measurement in the healthcare field is 1 liter is 1,000 milliliters. That's our main conversion. And the next one is grams. So 1 gram equals 1,000 milligrams. That's the main one that we use. 1 gram will equal 1,000,000 micrograms. It's not real common, but we do use it. Then we also have 1 milligram equals 1,000 micrograms. That's another very common one. And then we have 1,000 grams will equal 1 kilogram. Or we can say 1 kilogram equals 1,000 grams. They go both ways. You can read it backwards and forwards. So that takes care of the most common grams. And then let's look at our meters. 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. 1 meter is equal to 1,000 millimeters. 1,000 meters is equal to 1 kilometer. And then another common one we use is 1 centimeter equals 10 millimeters. So those are the most common units that we will see in healthcare, but I'll give you a complete chart later on. So some of these are worded weird. So let's look at number 4. It says 1 milligram is equal to how much of a gram? So, and this is the only one I've got going backwards. So if I look at my chart, this is milligrams. So if I say my base is grams, this would be decigrams. centigrams, milligrams, micrograms. So if I want to know 1 milligram, and here's the milligram, is how many of a gram. That means I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 places back. So my base unit is 1, so I have 1 gram, and I'm going to move my decimal 3 places to the left. So remember, your decimal's right after your 1. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 places to the left. I want to add 2 zeros. So it would be 1/1000 of a gram. Okay, so that's one way we can use the metric line if we need to, but it's easier to learn the chart. Now, let's move on to number 5. 1 liter is equal to how many milliliters? We'll go over here. 1 liter equals 1,000 milliliters. So see, if we just memorize it, then we know it. We don't have to use the chart. Now, this one's worded weird because it's read backwards than what I have it listed. 1,000 micrograms equals how many milligrams? Okay, so let's go over here and find 1,000 micrograms equals 1 milligram. Okay, so it's 1,000 micrograms equals 1 milligram. So I told you you could read it backwards or forwards. And then 1 kilogram equals how many grams? So if I look over here, here's my 1 kilogram, and it's going to equal 1,000 grams. So it's just mainly learning the chart. 1 centimeter is equal to how many milliliters? Millimeters, rather. So 1 centimeter equals 10 millimeters. And then 1 gram equals how many micrograms? I got it right up here. 1 gram is 1 million micrograms. So that's 6 zeros. It's 1 and 6 zeros. So 1 million micrograms. Okay, so that's metrics. That's our metric chart, our metric conversions. So let's move on, and let's stop here for now in this video, and I'll come back and pick up with the household.